Kaylee Rose was born on 19th of February 1998 as the oldest of 4 children. She was born in a trailer park in Willard, Missouri. This upbringing was challenging and she always felt the need to escape, and she couldn't be herself. The Midwest is known for having produced a great deal of internationally famous artists. Missouri in particular has been home to Josephine Baker, Cedric the Entertainer, and SZA. The Midwest has been a driving force in popular music of all genres by developing its own style while also transforming the music that came from other parts of the US. It's often considered flyover land, and it's not often very respected by other musicians. This is due to simply not having the same resources as LA or New York. So a certain DIY spirit has cursed over the Midwest, and it's not uncommon for aspiring musicians to find their own record labels. Another interesting point worth mentioning is the Great Migration. Between 1910 and 1970, 6 million African Americans left the southern United States for the North, West, and Midwest. The main reason for this were poor economic opportunities and social conditions. Over time, these sounds gelled with the sounds of the Midwest and created new genres. The African Americans took their food, clothing style, culture, and of course music with them to the North. After World War I had broken out in Europe in 1914, the immigration soon came to a stop. The factories in the north of the US started to recruit workers from the south. These industries included railroad work, factories, slaughterhouses, and automobile industries. According to some accounts, a factory worker in the north could earn 3 times as much as someone in the south. So naturally, African Americans started moving north in hopes of creating a better life for themselves. In their new homes in the north, musicians had new stories to tell through their music. As there were now more musical styles around, new genres were created, and blues mixed with the local musical traditions such as ragtime, jazz, and country. Chappell derives much of her inspiration from the Midwest, taking influence from gas stations and the more neglected parts of society contribute to her overall aesthetic, while being aware that more conventional fashion world looks down upon that kind of aesthetics. Chappell has said she's had difficulty in dealing with her sudden rise to fame, as well as her artistic identity. One of the turning points for her was when she was about to perform at the nightclub Heaven in London. Whilst in makeup, Chappell was having a discussion with one of the performing drag queens. She told Chappell that she was a drag queen and should identify as such. Although she was initially confused about this statement, Chappell has said it now helps her separate her personal life from the artist. Her most famous song to date has to be Pink Pony Club, which was released on the 3rd of April 2020, in the beginning stages of the pandemic. Even though the song didn't garner her much attention initially, it has now become a signature song. Pink Pony Club is a synth pop track that tells the story of a young woman moving from her home state of Tennessee to California to work as a dancer in a club. After the single Pink Pony Club failed to garner any momentum, Chappell was dropped from her record label. Chappell moved back home to her parents. On top of that, her 4.5-year relationship ended and she was struggling with bipolar type 2. While Pink Pony Club eventually became a hit the following year, it didn't generate much of a profit, and Chappell was dropped from Atlantic Records, one of the most notoriously difficult record labels to get signed with. She decided it was time to give it one more chance and moved back to LA. She told Paper magazine she would give herself 1 year to make it happen as an independent artist. Producing new songs with Daniel Nigro, Chappell went on to release Naked in Manhattan and My Kink is Karma. It was during this year, after being dropped, that she would rebrand herself into a more drag-inspired aesthetic and lean into her own queer identity. The music and accompanying videos she released were self-funded, created by her friends, and by the end of 2022, she had released 2 more songs, Casual and the banger Feminine Arm-in-On. As she was no longer signed, she had no more advance. She worked in a donut shop and as a production assistant. Shortly after she had moved back to LA, she received a publishing deal with Sony. And while this is a good start, it's still not the real deal. For some context, a publishing deal is where a label or an agency promises to get your name out there, either by having your music appear in films, commercials, or you doing cameos in movies. If this works and the public response to you is positive, you can get lucky and get signed. But to get signed nowadays, an artist needs to be more than a good singer. They have to be likable and convey a certain relatability. Luckily for Chappell, this time round, she got to work in an adjacent studio with Olivia Rodrigo. She produced backing vocals on Rodrigo's song Can't Catch Me Now. This led to the beginning of her breakthrough as she was selected as the opening act for Rodrigo's Guts tour. In August of 22, Chappell released her song Femininomenon independently. The song had previously been rejected by Atlantic Records for release, as it was deemed too bold and different from her earlier work. Chappell has said that going solo was the best thing that could have happened to her career. Being an independent artist allows a musician to be free from the expectations and compromises from a record label. This ranges from being told what to wear, how to act, what to talk about, to what songs to sing and which songs are gonna get released. But how she was gaining success without a major label, she was convinced she can do it without. However, without a label, an artist is left to foot the bill, including paying for recording sessions, engineers, producers, marketing, promotion, and release. This can frankly leave many artists, especially newer ones, in debt. Citing that this would be too much for her to bear alone, Chappell re-signed with Amusement Records in January of 23. In February 23, Chappell embarked on her first headliner tour in North America, titled Naked in North America. The tour had 20 dates scheduled and would set the stage for the release of her debut album later in the year. By the time she was able to tour, Chappell had met people who enjoyed her music. This was validating as it showed that more people related to her as an artist. On September 22nd of 23, Chappell then released her debut album, The Rise and Fall of the Midwest Princess. Chappell has said that the album's title derives from the freedom and feeling like she belongs in LA, and the fall defines the disappointment and shame after being dropped and having to move back in with her parents. While other pop acts such as Sabrina Carpenter's and Charli XCX's Brat Summer have had major success in 24, neither of those projects have been as new and unexpected as Chappell's, with an average of 70 million streams per week and Good Luck Babe at 1 billion streams. With multiple singles now in rotation, demand for tickets were high. Chappell played 94 shows on this tour, including London, Berlin, Amsterdam, Sydney and Brisbane. The tour was considerably larger, with venues having to be rebooked to accommodate the unprecedented amount of people. A well-timed Tiny Desk concert was also recorded and released in March of 24. These have a tendency to go viral and introduce artists to new demographics, and while the musicians do not get paid for these small gigs, the impact they have on an artist's popularity is immense. So was also the case with Chappell. To keep the momentum going, her first non-album related single, Good Luck Babe, was released on the 5th of April of 24. To great critical acclaim. Chappell performed the song at the Video Music Awards, and she was also awarded Best New Artist. She has also faced her fair share of criticism. The 2024 election was a moment of pressure, with her fans expecting her to endorse Kamala Harris. Chappell refused to do this, saying that both sides have their problems. She refused to put her name and music behind either side, as she didn't fully agree with them. This pushback from her makes her unique for a pop star. By refusing the demands of sometimes pretty aggressive fans, Chappell is showing the intense and oftentimes unreasonable expectations of fame. While many celebrities try and succeed in manufacturing parasocial relationships with their fans and pretend to be emotionally connected to them, Chappell has quite maturely said that she is a stranger to her fans, as they only know the persona and not the person. After being called out by some fans for not endorsing either political side, Chappell went live on social media to elaborate. There is no way I can stand behind some of the left's completely transphobic and genocidal views. This is not me playing both sides, because this is what we have in front of us. She continued to receive backlash about progressive values and being accused of weaponizing queer identity. Chappell has managed to find her stride in the mainstream appeal while maintaining relatability and having a certain credibility as an artist. She refers to herself as your favorite artist's favorite artist, a bold but certainly believable statement, summoning up the courage and vulnerability of her project Midwest Princess. There's another factor playing a role in this success: the absence of nepotism. In a nutshell, nepotism means favoritism, which can often result in mediocrity and below average talent making it big in the entertainment industry. The term nepo babies, short for nepotism babies, are individuals born into influential and powerful families in certain industries who receive preferential treatment and opportunities. Now, does this mean that singers or actors born into wealth have no talent? Not necessarily. But there is a real problem if they don't acknowledge this themselves. Their fans will eventually abandon them. And in this stage of not only being relatable but having to be real, people detect things that are phony or inauthentic. Chappell, being from a modest background, pretty much holds the crown at this time for being authentic. After so much condensed success within a 12-month period, it will be interesting to see if she can keep up with the demand and maintain our interest in her as an artist, as someone who had to work considerably harder than her peers for the same recognition. If you like this video, please subscribe.